Alright, so I'm trying to platinum over 100 games in a list created by the community. Now, if I can't do this before the channel hits 850,000 subscribers, then I will shave my head bald and look like a base character from a video game. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Alright, so today I got the platinum trophy on Dead Space. They remastered this game about a year ago now, and I originally played it on launch, making a few videos for fun, so I already had 3 trophies going into this. Yes, I know, that's insane. How dare I? But the game overall has 48 trophies and takes, as the guide says, around 40 hours to platinum. Now that's an insane take because it only took me 29 total, even with playing for giggles a year ago. Then again, I am the GOAT, so finishing fast is my specialty. The first stage to getting the platinum, however, is to play the entire game on whatever difficulty you prefer, while grabbing almost every collectible you can and doing the few side missions the game has. There is a very big collectible trophy for 150 logs. Yeah, there is a few more than 150 logs in the game, so you don't necessarily need 100% of those to get the trophy. Anyways, Dead Space opens up with the crew, including yourself, being named Isaac Clarke, joined by the leader dude named Hammond, and the other main side character girl being named Daniels. Isaac here was watching a video log from his significant other or something named Dr. Brennan, or Nicole, I think her name was. But the cruise ship was coming up to a massive resource collecting vessel named the USG Ishimura. But upon arriving there to do the job we had of basically just pulling up and checking on them, you immediately notice that nobody's here at all in this giant ship. Also, the fact that we basically crashed into it because no flight control was there to assist our parking was a bit of a giveaway. But after entering the check-in room of the ship, essentially, we again noticed that nobody is here. And since Isaac is the engineer, I got sent to go check on the status report of the ship in general, and yeah, she looks good to drive. But after seeing that ominous report, a bunch of unsettling sounds began in the ceiling, and that's never a good thing because nothing normal ever falls out of a ceiling. So when these giant monsters just started killing everyone from the roof, I wasn't even startled, just awestruck, which is why I might have almost just gave this one that ambushed me a hug before skedaddling away to an elevator in the safe arms of an enclosed room. And before meeting back with the 2 people I mentioned in the intro, that being Sir Hammond and Miss Daniels, we found the first gun of the game, that being the plasma cutter. And for this playthrough, it's optional, but if you only use that the entire time, you can get another trophy called One Gun, which is what I did indeed do. Next, I met up with the 2 people helping us today, and we video chatted across the tram on the ship since we are on separate sides of the ship in general. And then we got our first mission from them, which is kind of how this game's story functions. You basically just play through chapters with goals almost always being to just turn on something within the ship, and it sort of just takes us through hell on earth in these rooms with abominations everywhere. You also do get to go into space here and there, whether on purpose or not is always a surprise. But after an hour of playing, I finally got a new trophy, and it was called Raise the Stakes from pinning an enemy with an object, which I also think I did on complete accident because I still don't know what the hell that means. Also, shout out to this dude who messaged me on PlayStation showing off his support to the channel. We love to see it, we really do. Anyways, I'm gonna be completely honest, I totally just cut out like the first 2 chapters of this game because the first story trophy I would get was on chapter 3, and this chapter had us basically just turning on the engines to the Ishimura because if we don't, it's gonna slowly fall and drift into the planet below, killing us all. And that's not ideal as you'd expect. But once I finally figured out how to start up the damn thing, which involved me stasis freezing the 2 arms of it, I guess you could say, it then started up and I had to escape the now exposed space vacuum we got put into while dodging the massive and very deadly rotor blade of the engine. Yes, I did die, but some would say I made it to safety. Some being me, this game is bullshit. But that wasn't it for chapter 3 because then we had to go switch on the internal engines, which are now powered because of the outside ones. And after I inserted this juicy battery into the slot, it then caused a ton of monsters to come after me, and I survived. Well, sorry about that. And I survived because I'm super good at playing on easy difficulty. Nobody else could have ever done this. It was then finally the end of chapter 3 and the tall, dark, handsome man called us, which made me excited. I then got the chapter's trophy upon reaching the tram station once more, which almost always ends off a chapter there. Our next task was then to go to the main atrium, which is where the leader dude is hiding at, or I should say strategizing as he puts it. But after chatting with him, we left to go to a few different areas and divert power from them to the ADS cannons instead, which are the anti-asteroid cannons basically. But to get there, we had to fight the biggest normal enemy of the game, that being a brute. And you can kill them very easily actually by just freezing them and then shooting their butt off quite literally. And after killing your first brute, you get a trophy just from doing that. So I then made my way around the areas the game asked me to go to and changed the power to the cannons. And after doing that with all of them, I then got sent outside for real this time and I had to go manually line them up. This was done by just aiming the cannon a few times at asteroids so it knows what to look for, I guess. AI couldn't be any worse, it seems, in this universe. But after heading back inside aside from the destruction, I got another story trophy from finishing chapter 4 of the game. Chapter 5 then had us trying to locate a broadcast from Dr. Brennan, who was also Isaac's girl in case you forgot. But while trying to find it, we encountered another doctor on the ship, that being this man named Mercer. Shout out his hairline. But he's like super evil and also working with the evil force on this ship, which we will touch on more later. He also made or created a creature named the Hunter, which is a subtype of monster on the ship that cannot die to normal means, and every time you shoot its limbs off, they just regrow them back, which is super slow for us to deal with. And almost every time we fight that thing, it usually ends with us just running away because that's the smart option. And a few minutes after encountering the Hunter for the first time, I also found my 75th log total, which was one of 2 log trophies right here. Anyways, the goal for this chapter then took us to a cryo chamber room or something like that, and inside was again Mercer and his damn Hunter. But since there was this giant freezing chamber in the room, you can actually just freeze the Hunter to get rid of it for now, which was also needed for the story mission in general, and I did that. It then ended chapter 5, and the Hunter also dropped a tissue sample for some odd reason that we're going to use later. I also then dismembered my 500th limb a moment after that on this little tiny creature from the Devil's Nutsack, which was also another trophy. By the way, while we were in the cryo room, we also gathered some liquid nitrogen, which we then used on this chapter 6 goal to create an enzyme to help get rid of some overgrown monster bits around the ship that are poisoning the air and basically making everything bad for us. So we made the enzyme, then we were about to enter the food storage room. However, a lady named Scientist popped up on our video feed and screamed at us not to. This is because an absolutely giant creature is in there just nesting and would almost kill us for sure. So instead, to weaken it, we now have to go to, I think, 7 or maybe 8 different locations and use that enzyme on Weezers. And if you're wondering what a creature with that kind of name looks like, this is a Weezer. Pretty spot on, I can't lie. Before that though, I did find the last weapon in the game I needed for another trophy pop. However, since I am doing the plasma cutter only run right now, I can't even use any of those, so that's kind of sad. Also, finding all of those Weezers took so damn long, and mostly because I got lost over and over, but it still took forever to do. Eventually, I did finish all of them off though, and then we got to fight the big boy Leviathan in food storage, a very serious location at the boss fight in. But the fight itself also only took like 2 minutes to do, which is insane. We truly are finishing fast today. And after beating it, I got a trophy, as well as glorious amounts of praise from the scientist girl. Her name is Cross, by the way, and after she finished yapping to us, we also finished chapter 6 and got that trophy as well. Chapter 7 then began, and this chapter's main goal was to launch an SOS beacon out into the emptiness of space because we have no way of escaping this damn ship and we need to get out before we die. After a lot of issues launching the beacon, however, we find out that pretty much everything on the ship is broken, and if you play this game, it actually gets very annoying because nothing ever works, and you always have to do some extra BS for literally the smallest things. But the solution to send off the SOS beacon was to put it on an asteroid that was being auto-mined in the mining bay. And to turn it off, we have to do a tiny puzzle freezing these things holding it in place, but me being the idiot I am, I was too dumb to realize this, and I just kept on running into it and getting literally destroyed into a million pieces. It was quite ugly, but once I grew a few brain cells and used my thinking cap, I did do it and strap that SOS beacon on the very butt of the asteroid. I then had to go launch the asteroid into space, obviously, but right after doing that, a goddamn hunter enemy just spawns in and I'm gonna bawl my eyes out tonight. So I again ran away screaming and crying into the sunset, or tram station. Upon reaching it, that also finished chapter 7 for another story trophy. During chapter 8, I then reached this farming location for stomp kills on enemies. You can do this anywhere when coming across these dudes sticking out of walls because they always infinitely send out these tentacle guys. But after stomping 10 of their useless lives into the ground, I got a trophy from doing that. Anyways, chapter 8 was pretty bland overall, but we were trying to use the communications array, which guess what? Was broken. Like everything else, and I mean everything. So first we went to go check it out, and the damn Leviathan was just taking a shit on the thing, which is why it wasn't working. Who would have thought? I then went outside and fought it again, except this time I got to use the ADS cannons for most of the fight instead of my measly little gun. But the fight is also not hard, which is weird because you'd think an enemy named the Leviathan would put up more of a challenge. Apparently not, is all I have to say, and here's another trophy from beating that thing again. The chapter then ended with the USM Valor, a military ship that was headed to us for rescue, crashing into us in grand fashion. And I also had to go outside and enter it to salvage its singularity core so we can use it to escape with our own ship. Upon entering it, that also finished chapter 8 and I got a story trophy. Inside the ship there was also a shooting gallery, which you don't have to get a high score on or anything, but instead for a trophy you just have to enter it and survive the onslaught of enemies coming after you. And after surviving, I got a trophy from that. A little bit later on the ship, I also found the last schematic I needed to for another collectible trophy, and nearing the end of the ship section I got another trophy, but this time it was from a cumulative combat action, that being me freezing 50 enemies total, and here is that. I then reached the end and we found Hammond in here trying to help us, but he also got jumped by a monster who was also one of our old old friends that got killed, and the dude was still convinced that he was his homie, so we kind of just let him kill him and then threw them both into the ship's core, which evaporated them like a Thanos snap. I then took the singularity core that just killed them both, and that sort of destabilized everything, which then caused the ship to begin to blow up, and I had to run away from that, obviously. Once I reached the end of the ship, a cutscene then triggered with me getting blown out of it, and that also essentially ended the chapter with another story trophy. I also did finish my first side mission of the game, which was from me collecting various deceased characters' rigs, which was like a little armband clearance thing that then gave me ultimate access to the ship after finishing it, and a trophy as usual. I also totally, for no reason at all, stored 25 items into storage because I can, and I got a trophy from doing that. I then completed another side quest using the Hunter's tissue sample from forever ago, and this basically showed us that some poor little mentally ill dude was essentially just a test subject, and I kind of feel bad, but I got a trophy, I'm just kidding. And during chapter 10, the game had us go into a minigame sort of area, which had us throw these balls into these hoops to score points. And if you beat the highest score in all of the levels, you get a trophy. Also, it's not very hard to do that if you just play the game, I don't know. Before finishing the chapter though, I did backtrack a little bit and got some more logs that were previously locked, and I ended up reaching 150 right here for that trophy, which actually wasn't too bad to get. And since we're just finishing everything up right now, I also did the last side mission I needed to do, which involved Nicole Brennan, or Dr. Brennan again. And as we know, this is supposedly Isaac's girlfriend. Although she was low-key nuzzling up to Dr. Mercer, I'm just saying. Oh my god! But yeah, she was investigating him because he's shady as hell, clearly, and once I finished that, it gave us a trophy. Chapter 10 then kind of ended with us trying to load the marker, which is this giant red glowing object that can control people's minds and also turn them into monsters, apparently. But right when we finally had it in our possession, that guy Mercer showed up again to ruin it all, and also this giant arm just grabbed me and tried to drive me back into the walls. I didn't let it, of course, and then chapter 10 ended. So now it's chapter 11, and we have to track down the marker, which is in the basement, basically. And once I made it to the room the thing was sitting in, I also found this treasure called Pang's treasure, which was so important the game gave me a trophy for grabbing it. There was also another trophy I got called Built to Order from buying every weapons upgrade. Now this does not mean actually purchasing every single upgrade in the game, but rather just having them all unlocked and able to be bought. Kind of confusing and I still don't really understand, but I did it and here's the trophy. Anyways, back to the game. Chapter 11 had us just use this crane to lift the marker up and get it back into the ship while also fighting enemies that came at us in unreasonable rates, and I did not have a fun time. But then I also had to go out into the zero gravity on the hangar bay and direct the damn thing even more into the ship itself on a bunch of cargo paths. And then right before we got onto the ship, this dude who was helping us out just got fucking shot in the stomach by that bitch Daniels, who was another side character, and just flew away. What the just happened? We also would find out that she was kind of a double agent and sent here to report back on what the hell was happening and also grab that marker structure from us the whole time. But joke's on her, because we then went up to the control room with quote-unquote Nicole and just auto-called back the ship with fancy Bluetooth. So Isaac and Nicole now have the ship instead of it being under Daniel's control, and this is also the end of chapter 11 and point of no return in the game. So I got that trophy, and now we are in chapter 12, which is the finale. And it has us literally just moving the marker through this facility to its platform to help increase its reach and be functional for the entire planet or something goofy. So we did that, and then Isaac got a big ass headache. But Daniels also showed up, and this is when the game really mind-f***ed us, because Isaac has been seeing things this whole time and was under the control of the marker doing its bidding without us even knowing. Turns out Nicole was actually that scientist girl Cross, and our eyes have truly deceived us. Nicole also died a while ago, so that's tragic. But Isaac won't give up, and we still want to live, so we had to beeline to the ship to escape before the planet falls apart. Before that, there was a massive fight against the hive mind though, as you would expect, and it was fairly easy. The hardest part was actually us shooting its final hitbox because my aim is trash. I did get it eventually though, and that was it for the story, pretty much getting this trophy for killing the hive mind. Isaac then just hopped on the ship we came here in and flew away, getting 2 trophies for beating the story and for using the plasma cutter only. Also, Nicole, or the Marker's Delusion, joined us on the ship, and poor Isaac got attacked within his own mind. Shout out brain aneurysms. So now it's time for stage 2, which has us doing another full playthrough in New Game Plus this time, going after all of the remaining combat trophies and the secret endings from collecting all 12 of the new collectibles scattered throughout. These new collectibles were called marker fragments, and after grabbing the first one right here, it gave me a trophy for grabbing a piece of the marker. I then did a quick trophy from tearing a limb off of an enemy or something, which works on these suits for some reason. I can't explain why, but I got that trophy. The rest of the trophies I would then get for this entire New Game Plus playthrough, which I was also doing on hard by the way to get ready for stage 3, were all entirely from getting at least 30 kills with every single weapon in the game. And because this is New Game Plus, I did have them all from the previous playthrough, making this somewhat easy to do. However, a few of the guns in this game are just completely ass and balls, which was very annoying to deal with. I did end up getting 30 kills with every single gun throughout this playthrough, getting all of those trophies, so that was nice. And then I basically just completed the game on hard with that secret ending, which was a lot different to the original one. Before it happened though, I got 3 trophies from the new game plus, beating the game on medium or better, and the secret ending trophy. However, the secret ending itself showed Isaac embracing the marker fully and kind of in an evil sense. Also, his face didn't get torn off, which is a W. So it would be stage 3 now, but instead I just loaded up a new game plus because I was still missing like 5 upgrades on one weapon for the upgrade all weapons trophy. And every time you beat the game, you also get given a lot of nodes and money. So I just replayed the intro and got to a weapons bench and then bought the remaining upgrades I needed to for that trophy. And now it's time for stage 3, the impossible mode trophy. And also my last before the platinum. Impossible mode is the hardest option on Dead Space. You cannot play it through a new game plus as well, making it even harder. But it quite literally is just hard difficulty, with the exception of there being 0 respawns throughout it. And I'm not gonna lie, that sounds hard because permadeath in games traditionally sucks. However, in this impossible mode, it still gives you a save slot in case you have to stop playing. And this means that you can naturally just back up saves on PlayStation's cloud save feature, and also if you're about to die, you can just quit the main menu anyways to get to the most recent save. So overall, this playthrough is basically just another hard mode playthrough, except with 0 gun upgrades, making it a bit more challenging. But it's nowhere near impossible, as the game says. False marketing. And yeah, it only took me about 6.5 in-game hours to do this playthrough again. I got a bit annoyed both with the game and women in my personal life while playing it, so that made it feel like a lot longer and also not very enjoyable. However, I completed it as you do right here with that final trophy pop and the platinum added on. So that was the Dead Space Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, the game is generically good. I feel like Dead Space is a great game to play once, but playing it over and over really does get boring, especially once you know all of the drama and plot points, which makes the new playthrough seem kind of pointless. And I think I can say that very justly, having played this game 3 times in 2 days of my life. Rating it out of 10, I'm gonna give Dead Space a solid 6.4. If you hate me for that, then okay. I love living rent-free in people's minds.